Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Jeez. Good morning, Sunday. Yeah. I'm excited to introduce you to our guest. Before I do that, here's a quote I picked just for this episode. Wherever you are, it is your friends who make your world. William James, Kevin DeLory, episode 115. If you haven't listened to it, get off this after this. Listen to that. Come back. Listen to this. The man, the myth. It was either that quote or something about I'd rather have a pack of lions led by a pack of dogs led by a lion than the inverse. I was like those two quotes to introduce this man, because this man is a lion that leads lions. And there's more that I'd like to say on that. But if you want to know more, well, I guess you're just going to have to listen to episode 115 of the Culture Matters podcast. Kev, thanks for coming back to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad you picked that quote. Wow. You must have like cameras on me. I actually shared with someone last night about someone we had on our podcast, and he had said, if you keep your, your friend circle filled with people that will always lift you up, be honest with you, be direct with you, do all of these things, then you have a good circle. But don't make sure you're reaching out to them. Make sure when their name comes into your brain, make sure into your thoughts, that you pick up the phone and give them a call. And I was just telling someone that yesterday and said, shoot, I don't do that enough. I need to make time, because I always say how busy I am, and I'm wearing all these different hats, that I don't take time. I wait for them to call me. And I realized, wow, that's not the way it should be. So I'm glad you said that, because that has been something that is near and dear to me, to make time for those people that are always there for me. Don't wait until you need them. Just the minute they come into your thoughts, pick up the phone and have a conversation. You be amazed what you're going to learn about them from those impromptu phone calls, just to see how they're doing.
What do you think if my observation of you is that I would never think that would be something you would struggle with, because of how proactive you are, at least it appears, and how you treat everyone you work with. Like,
I mean, it's I guess, Jay, that's I had to do some self-reflection when I do that. When I heard that, I sat on that for a day before I even talked to anyone about it, because I really wanted to make sure I was being honest with myself and giving and I had to be honest with myself. I said, I am very good at, when I'm with my friends, to be in the moment, but I'm also very bad at making time for them in the course of a week, because I am in this never-ending goal to be, the top wholesale lender in the country, and that takes up a lot of time, right? And I forget, without those friendships, I wouldn't be able to navigate that course, because there's been a lot of landmines that they've helped me through. There's been a lot of second guessing they helped me through. So when I'm there, I'm present, but give more of myself to them. Find the time, right? Can't always put success first, because it's going to be lonely at the time. They always say it's lonely at the top. That's how it would be lonely for me. So yeah, it's to really make sure that you're reaching out and having those real conversations.
what do you tell the people that are listening to this that are having a very hard time even being busy enough, constructive enough to even have a problem like that are sitting around thinking, well, shoot, that sounds like a great problem that I'd like to have. I have no business. I have nothing going on. Because I'm hearing a lot of that. I'm having, and when I was telling you this before the show, God, I had to have you on to pick me up a little bit. So what's your advice or insight, wisdom to the person saying, yeah, I want that problem right now?
It's it's funny. It's kind of what Ryan Serhant said, right? Adversity is a speed bump, not a brick wall, right? So I take it step by step. I've had a lot of failure in my life. I've always chased the business, but I can tell you, at the end of the day, I always wanted to make sure I had a good circle of friends. I make time, as busy as I am, every Friday at 3:00, to shut it down, to go give them time, because that 2 hours I spend with them that I could have been in the office gives me the energy to get through the next, 80-hour work week, right? To get to because it's my, pot of gold at the end of my rainbow. So yeah, sometimes when it's tough to say, well, I wish I wasn't busy, wish I wasn't that, something, lean into your friends. They have more to offer, and it doesn't have to be your field. My friends are none of them are in this business. I have one very good friend, Kenny. Obviously, he's my right hand man, but outside of that, I can't think of people that I've been friends with for 10 plus years that are in the business. But the people I meet with every Friday, they keep it real to me. This is so crazy. Ask me this question because I was just listening to a book right now, Principles, and I'm listening to about failures and about everything else. And
Uh,
the best thing that happened to me is I had a group of friends. I was the youngest by 50 years. Okay, so they were in their
50?
80s.
Oh, wow.
50, right? So I played cards with them every Saturday. Never talked about money, never talked about what was going on in work. We talked about real deal core values. I listened to them talk about their struggles, whether it be in the Korean War, Vietnam, whatever it was. And those things have taught me so much. So without that group of good friends, you would be surprised how they could add to that success factor, how they could add to getting over that hurdle.
Oh, so are you saying, alluding to that, that is why you're in the position to have so much success right now in this time, because at one time you had that group of solid
Yeah.
friends, mentors, peers outside the frame that got you here today. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, 100%. Right. This was right after the crash. So, it was around the same time that, my father and I were, not speaking. He left my mom when I was 1. So here I am developing this new relationship with my dad at the age of 35. And next thing him and I having a friendship more than a father son. He introduces me. He said, "Hey, come down to it was at the American Legion. Come down on Saturdays. We play cards." And it was right after the crash. I had nothing going for me. I mean,
Hmm.
when we talk about, yeah, today it's a great problem to have. Back then it wasn't because the crap had hit the fan. I was, and then on the first episode, as I shared, I was filling up my oil tank with diesel from the gas station. Nothing was going good. But that group of friends got me through it. That group of 80 plus gentlemen, there's only one left. His name's Lenny. He was they taught me so much about life that, like, you think you're struggling. Let me tell you about our struggle growing up. And that gave me the fuel to say, look, if they can overcome all of these things, these guys put their life on the line in the Korean War and the Vietnam War. These guys did all these amazing things. They're still friends today sitting around this table, BSing every Saturday. I can overcome anything. And I need to make sure I lean into my friendships. So,
Wow.
that's what's key. So that it was the rocket fuel I needed to get back to where I was. And it got me there quick. Right. And it was, these guys, they didn't know anything other about a mortgage. When they got their first mortgage, they probably had to put down 30%. It was a different world. So I think that is the key, is to have that support system.
Was there a story that was a big wake up call to you, that, like you were talking about Korea?
Yeah, I mean, it was just everything to listen to these guys of the struggle, to come home from the war, not have a job, to have to go out and find it and earn it. And now they all became successful. They're all very good, and it was all blue collar type jobs, but they were the best at whatever they did. And that was the one thing they always told me: whatever you do, look out for your friends, be the best you can be. I don't care what it is, because if you give it your all, you're going to get to where you want to be, and probably surpass it. So that's what stood out to me, is just the struggles. Here they are, talking about, one guy lost a toe from getting frostbite, and, the war and all this stuff and all this craziness that he went through. And just their stories of resilience, of, brotherhood, just made me realize, man, we don't have it half as bad as they did growing up. I mean, this is crazy. So, as I look at my own story and say, wow, what a struggle, it kind of kicked me back to that place.
Hmm.
So sometimes when you're saying, like, right now, there's a lot of people is out there struggling, that's where you find your greatest fire. That's where you find, the deepest thoughts that are going to propel you and going to create new principles, create new values. Out of the toughest times, it creates the greatest moments.
Do you remember, Ray, did you get to the part where Dalio's talking about where he put all his money on, or am I ruining his book? Principles. He had a low. I don't know where you're at.
No,
Where are you?
I'm only in the second chapter right now.
Okay.
So I
It's
literally just
good.
started it today.
I don't remember the whole book. It's one of the best. What are you getting out of it so far? And
Well,
why
it's
did
really,
you pick it up?
it was funny. Someone
Amazing
said
book.
it was about you know how big I am about my values, and then
I got that right next to my bed. It's those are the books that you want to dig in. It's right next to Don Quixote. Haven't read
well, I know a lot of guys that chase windmills, but that's a different story. The
I got to get into Miguel Ruiz. You're good.
but
Or Miguel Cervantes, right?
but the principles though, get back to that is I the reason I just put it back down is because I went to the office to go get my remarkable because I want to take notes on it because I am finding so much, but it's about core values, about principles. It's about those are the things that will make you successful if you stick to them no matter what you do. As you know, I wear my 3 core values right on my arm right there. I never forget them. I just have to look.
What are they?
It's love, honor, and respect. It's with
Mm.
those 3 things. I love what I do. I give everyone 100% of my trust. And that's along with the honor and respect. I try to do the best to honor people that come to work for me every day. If people believe enough in you to show up in the office every day. Talk about positivity. How dare you be the guy that brings them down? If I'm not the biggest cheerleader in that office, how can I expect anyone else to come in and give me their all? It's crazy the amount of energy that you can give to a team, and I think leaders seem to forget this. Just by walking around saying, "Good morning, how was your weekend? Hey, how are things going? How are you today?" The simplest thing, and they all say, "Wow, that guy really he gets it. He really cares about us. He wants to know what my weekend was," and I really do. But I think there's so much power in that connection. And I think when you get to a level, sometimes I watch people just walk into their corner office and shut the door and they never leave behind them because they perceive what they're doing to be more important what their people are doing. But I think we all need to remember there is no corner office without all those people that propel us there.
That died in me for a time.
That's tough.
Yeah. If I'm aware, like, no, that's who I have always been. What you just said. Do you think without that, there's there's no culture?
No, I see it every day, Jay, where people call me and saying, "I want to leave the company I'm at." Why? Well, because my guy's in the office all day with his door shut. All I hear about you is that you're on the phone, you're doing these videos, you're out in front of people, you're doing what you're asking them to do. Because no matter how busy my day gets, if I can't do at least one activity that I'm asking someone else to do, shame on me. I'm not
Mm.
leading by example. Now I'm making tough decisions in that office. But if you come to my office, everybody knows I only shut my door once a day and once a week, and that's during the partners call because there's some stuff, high level stuff
Sure.
and that's good here. But anything else, I'm an open book. Leave it open because I want them to understand that I'm in it. I'm in this with them, and I think a lot of people forget that, man. They
What would
want to
your
be there.
advice be to leaders that maybe they're in a position of leadership they're not used to, and they're trying to juggle that? I want to be with my people, and I got to be on that call. Or how do
Yeah,
you? How have you navigated it? How have you? What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, skip your rounds at the golf course on your league days. Skip leaving early to go home and have a glass of wine. Skip the days that you're having tough. Here's what's crazy: when you leave, separate yourself from the team, is when they decide that you're no longer their leader. Just because you have the title and you think,
Mm.
wow, I'm still the senior vice president of whatever, right? Or I'm still the chief, whatever. But the minute that isn't a title that you are given by somebody within the organization, but it's earned and it's respected by the people that work with you if you do the right things. But the minute you don't do the right things, and the minute you show that I can leave early because because I'm not really involved in the day to day, I'm the leader. You're not the leader anymore because that team of people have already decided I don't look at him as a leader anymore. He's the guy in the corner office with the door shut. So that they got to stop that. If you can't find time, I got to call BS. I find time. I'm on call some days from 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock.
It's about finding the time, making it. Well, would you say that's making it?
Yeah, it's about listen, it's if it's 10 minutes in between a call sometimes, maybe I don't check my email until after that call. Right? Everybody can wait because what's most important is the people, because without the people, we don't have the success. There's industries where you can have the success with other people, but it's what is that? You're one man team of a consultant. I mean, what are you doing? But
Mm,
without those people, if you're not finding time to get to engage and know them, you want a new person to say, "Geez, that guy, look at him. He's already talking to me. How do I get to know him?" That's what I want at any time someone comes in my office. How do I get to know that guy? They all seem to smile when he comes in the room. So I think that's the key, is to find the time. There's no excuse. Maybe like I said, if you're taking that long lunch on Friday, maybe you don't go out to lunch. Maybe you take the team with you. I do it. I try to do it at least every other month, where I say, "Hey, Friday, I'm going to take everyone out in this office that I can." My new thing is, with all the people working remote, is I find out their favorite place and surprise them with the lunch. What do you
uh,
want for lunch? But that's my way of connection. Maybe we have a quick, chat before you eat your lunch. But it's those type of things that, unfortunately, with everyone working remote, we lost. So culture has gotten 10x since remote, employees. And if you're
what
not
do you mean?
prepared, you get just because you don't have that face-to-face interaction. That's what made so people could feel culture. When you come in my office, you feel energy, you feel a vibe.
That's
That's
right.
yeah, and it's created by all these people. Now, if I'm working remote, how do I create that same mojo? How do I get them in? Well, I'm going to spend, and I just started. I sent someone lunch the other day, and it's funny. I said, "Someone, you think I took him to the best steakhouse in the world?" I remember exactly what I got because I am a very high eye and I don't like specialty orders. He wanted a double cheeseburger, ketchup, not everything, just ketchup, pickles, a large fry, and a Coke. Done. And I sent it. We had a 10-minute conversation, and that's how you have to connect with these people to show them that they are part of this team, even though you're living in Illinois and I am here in Rhode Island. But that's going to be a challenge. I think the more people work remote, the more challenging that gets. People got to remind themselves, what are we all about? What are we, why are these people coming to work every day and giving me their all? Especially they're working from home and there's 15 other things they could be doing,
Mm,
you know? So I think that is going to be the challenge for this generation is all these remote employees. How do they I met some of my best friends at work. How do they do it now? You know,
what do you say to the person that says, "Oh, I don't become friends with my coworkers"?
something that drives me crazy. It's funny. I had a leader tell me once, tell me that the biggest mistake you're making is you're getting friendly with these people. I said, excuse me. I said, I'm not quite sure what you mean. He said, you can't lead them if you're friends with them. I beg to differ. I've had to make some. If you're a strong leader and you can make tough decisions, sometimes you do have to make tough decisions to people that you consider friends or friendly. You're friendly with. I do a Christmas party at my house every year for my work friends because they're part of my family.
Mm,
But it doesn't mean I don't can't make the tough decisions and part ways with them if they're not functioning. It's funny. It's like I was thinking about it today. I did a little paper last week and about culture and everything, and I had a new one, and it's the Johnny Come Lately. It's the guy that was your friend.
that's funny.
So the Johnny Come Lately is the guy that was your friend, and he buys into the culture, and then he gets successful, and then he stays away from your culture, and he wants nothing to do with it. And then tough times come back again. What does Johnny Lately come do? He comes running full steam back into the culture, and he's all in. He's telling you everything you want to hear because the numbers aren't there anymore. So he just showed his true identity, Johnny Come Lately. He never wanted to be part of the culture because he ran away from it as soon as he got successful because he felt he didn't need to because I'm so successful. Now he's in tough times again. So what does he run back to? He runs back to the culture. If I embrace the culture, maybe that saves me. Maybe that keeps me around longer. But people aren't as foolish as you think. They saw this all come and go. So I just added a new one to my paper. So it's right after the
Can
Budinsky.
we break down the? I don't know what you're talking about. Can we?
So yeah, I would love to
What
share
are
it. So
these?
I watch cultures. I am, as you know, I'm a culture guy, and I love when it's all working. I love when the buzz is moving, but you always have some people that want to say they're part of the culture, but they have another intention. It's usually their best interest. So cultures don't die from the outside in; they die from the inside out. It's like a cancer. If you let your culture have issues, it will continue to rot away. A lot of downfalls of these great societies, people always blame it like the Mayans on the Spanish conquest. I would challenge that it's probably just as much as what happened with the Mayans themselves. It becomes everyone has to save their own ass. Everyone looks at self-interest. If we band together, our chances of survival are greater than when we're apart. And so I noticed some of these behaviors, and I kind of labeled them in a joking way, um, of people that just eat away at your culture. One was the backseat driver. He wants to give all the directions, but take none of the accountability when you get lost. Right. So he wants to be all involved, telling you where you should go, what you should do. But if you get lost, it's not his fault. You're driving. The other one is the Buttinsky. They want to butt their nose into everything, right? So they want to be involved in everything because if there's a chance for something to be successful, if I immerse myself into the project, I am now part of the winning team. The other one is the blind man who says he can't see anything when everything's falling apart in front of him, but he can see so clear, but he chooses to close his eyes and be blind. Um, Trying to think of some of the names. There was a lot of good ones. The passenger, the guy that's just along for the ride. He doesn't say anything bad. He doesn't say anything good. Doesn't really add much, but he just sits along, goes for the ride, gets a free ride to the promised land. So I wanted to do it in a funny way because I don't take it. I didn't want anyone to take it too serious or
This
offensive.
is a, this is stop. This
Yes.
is a work of genius.
I actually, I got to tell you, I was going to call
This
my niece today, and I think this is my book of, around culture and about recognizing
this is
these
a work of
people.
genius.
Yeah. And today I got the Johnny come lately. I'm watching a gentleman who's never really engaged in anything. Now he's on tough times. All of a sudden he's engaged in everything. So where were you 3 months ago? Where were you 2 months ago? So you have to identify these types of people so you can, not to say that you have to get them off your team, but you have to have a real conversation and say, this isn't going to work. I notice what you're doing. I want authenticity. I want people to be real with me. And if they did, jump into a project, just say, hey, look, this wasn't really my thing. But I contributed, but don't own it because now you just dismiss the other four people that were on the same team on that project. So I was identifying all of these type of characters as people that, the eternal optimist, that next month's always going to be better. The next month's going to be better. You have to be a realist. You can't always be an eternal optimist. But not to say that optimism is bad. I love optimistic people, but you also can't be delusional, right? There's a
Mm.
fine line where you, your words sound more delusional than they do optimistic. When it's every month the same speech, well, when do the results come? So these are the things that I've really been, thinking about, and you have to address them in your culture so your culture doesn't go sideways.
When you're approaching tougher conversations, how do you go about doing it in a way that you feel good about it?
Yeah, that's I won't, that's a tough one for me, Jay. That is I am a very passionate person. I When I see BS, I call BS. Um, I don't like so when I'm in those conversations, let me back up a second. Before I go into those conversations, I'm very prepared. I mean, I have notes upon notes. There's 3 notebooks this year alone full of notes from every meeting I've been a part of, every
Wow,
conversation
three,
I've had.
huh?
Yeah, and I just fill them up every time I'm having a conversation. I'm taking notes. Important conversations that I know that, you know, I may have to go back and look at later, right? Because I can't retain everything. So I write down as much as I can and I'll go back. So when I have those conversations, I usually know the facts. I have them all prepared. The other person thinking that I'm so passionate and just so I'm moving 90 miles an hour may think, yeah, I can, I'd probably get one over on them. What they don't realize is I have every note. I know what you told me on 412. I know what you told me on 414 at 934. I mean, that's how when someone says something they think I may use, I write down the date and the time.
Have you
So
always done that?
I did it probably for the last 2 years. I probably longer than that. I probably did it about 4 years. Not as religious as I do it today. Today I'm religious about it. I note every conversation because I never want anyone to say, I didn't say that. And then I can come back and say, you sure did. On
We,
312, you said it.
we no, we I just that's so funny because I was trying to pick up my my damn phone won't scroll here. Like, there's 4,267 notes in there.
Right.
That's the same thing.
Yeah. So that's what I do. So I'm already prepared. So
What do you tell someone that says, there's no way how could I do that? Or do I really need to be that intentional with my business, my life?
Yeah. I mean, listen,
That's
I
thinking,
like,
that sounds like a lot of work.
yeah, it isn't. It really isn't. It's those things that stick out to you. So in a normal conversation that, I'm having with somebody, I'm only writing down the things that are impactful, the things that they're owning. I want to remember that they owned what they said, and I want them to own it. Right. I get called out on this all the time. I've gotten so much better at it. And I almost said it once here. It's like words are intent, words matter. Make sure when you say things like to tell you the truth, or, well, why wouldn't you anyway? I'm not gonna lie, but so all those things. So I become very aware of all of these things. And I just take notes of the most impactful thing they said to me in that conversation. Because usually it's always going to come back to that one thing. Because they were so adamant about it. And usually that's going to show itself later when we have that conversation. But I also take a walk around the park. I walk around the entire building. I want to get myself in it because I'm going so fast all day. I just want to slow down. And then I'll go have that conversation. Sometimes I like to send an email to say, do you have time for a 10-minute conversation? I find that usually prepares the other person to know that we're going to have a real conversation. And I just want them to be prepared. I don't want them to feel attacked. I don't want them to go get off the say, I don't have, if I call without saying, do you have 10 minutes, 2 minutes in to say I have another call, I make sure they block out the 10 minutes. We have an authentic conversation. No, we don't have to leave agreeing. But I feel if you can get that off your chest and be heard and listened to, it's just as much help for you as it is for them.
What do people need to hear now in this time? It's April. It's about to be May 1st. And from my understanding, you have a strong mindset of how to succeed in this market.
Things could be worse. Remember that. That's something that no one ever thinks of. They think today this is the end of the world, especially in the mortgage industry. It's all secular. It all comes back, and when it comes back with a giant boom again. But saying, "Oh, it's just the market. I can't do anything about it." I gotta say, bullshit. You can do more every day. There's no one's gonna tell me that try something different, try something new. The reason that we're succeeding is because one, you have to be a leader that's engaged. You have to be a leader that listens. You have to really dump yourself into it, be willing to do anything that you're asking your team to do. Listen, I don't like being away from my family as much as I am, having to travel and go to these, different events or different conferences, but I do it because I have to show my team I'm willing to do whatever it takes for them. But I think in this thing, it's all about, everyone's used the word mindset. I say that's 100% true. But don't forget, you probably have been through three more cycles in this market that were tougher than this one, and this is just a drop in the bucket. In 6 months from now, if you stick at it and you continue to tough it out, continue to do the right things, it's going to be great again. But I think I'm a little different. Here's the way I think. I think as long as a competitor is getting a loan, as long as a competitor is succeeding, then that's something I'm not doing. So I have to figure out every day I go in, what do I do to take more business from them? What do I do to take more business from them? What is it that I could do differently? And it might be something different than I'm doing today. So that's the mindset you need to have, is as long as there's a competitor doing well, there's room for you to grow.
How important is it to be able to look at one's competitors to make those judgments? Like, what do you say to the people that, don't, say not to look at the competition? Do you have a theory around
Yeah,
that?
listen, I want to know. I don't claim to know everything. There's smart people at all of our competitors, and I think that as long as I'm willing to continue to compete, improve myself and get better every day, I'm going to look at them and figure out how I can take some of their business. And what are they doing different than I'm doing? That's getting that business in the door. So there's there's nothing wrong with looking at your competitor and saying, what are they doing? And how could I do that same thing? And how could I get more of their business? Right. And that's what it is. I think and that's the mindset I have is I love when I say, so and so competitor is doing, 100 million. They say, well, how do we get their 100 million? I love when people ask me that question. It's like, great question. I'm going to try to every day think of how I'm going to do that. And I'm going to go out and execute. So it's coming every day with that plan and just making sure that if you fill up every block of your day from 8 to 5 o'clock, you're going to be successful. Though what's happening in this market is people are saying, oh, they got till noon, man. It's been a tough day. I haven't gotten anything done. Snap out of it. It's only been 4 hours, 3 hours. What's wrong with you? Get fired up. You got to be a self-motivator. If you're waiting for somebody to call you and motivate you, it's never going to come. You have to be able to look deep and be able to persevere. I think one of the luxuries of, being involved in athletics when I was younger is going through that adversity and knowing, it was wrestling. I had to wrestle for 9 straight minutes. There was no time off. You got to, a few minutes in
Wow.
between to get a breath. But I mean, let's get after it. Get after it every minute of the day. So I think I see it. It's not even think. I see the people that get out there and like, oh, it's 12. I can't get anything going. Well, keep going. That means you push harder after 12. Oh, it's 2. Push even harder. Find that extra gear, but you have to be a self motivator. All these people that are saying it's just the market, it's just the market. That's weak. It's an excuse.
Mm.
And well, it's fact. No, it's not fact. I gotta call BS on that. It's not fact. As long as there's a competitor getting business, it's not fact.
Why do you think that I hear often actually the people don't study their competition?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is they say it's because I'm selling myself. I get it. I totally get that. But at a certain point, I get better. Why? Because I read books. I get better. Why? Because I have conversations, because I'm learning from others. So there's nothing wrong with learning from a competitor. I find, and sometimes it's not even learning from them. When I'm reading a book, a lot of times it's, hey, geez, I already do that. It just sparks something in my head to give it deeper
Mm.
thought. Hey, maybe I could do it a little different. Maybe I could do it more often. So that's all it is. It isn't saying you got to go act like them, be like them, look like them. Study them to get to know them to say, okay, whoa, that's a good idea they're doing. How do I make it even better? Right? Or how can I put that into play in my market? So I think that is the
You
key.
know who you remind me that this is not even comparing. I don't want to compare it. I don't want to compare it for some reason because I think so highly of you and
Oh,
the other
thanks.
person, but I'm going to because it's a genuine. I had Donald Hennig on the podcast who ran third party lending for American Home Mortgage a couple years ago. It's an amazing episode. Anyone listening to this, and he said when he came into that company, he didn't name the company, but I did my research and I figured out what it was. Everyone walked around with their head down. And one day he went home to his wife because he was like deflated from it. Did I make the right? It's all on the show. Just anyone listening to this, I would go to, did I make the right decision? Whatever. And she said, you know what? You're the person that says hello to people. And so he went in the next day and he said hi to the security guard and hi to this person, hi to this person. And within a few months, the whole thing started to turn around. You remind me of him today in this conversation because that's who you are as a person.
Well, the
Like
security got
he's who you are and you're who he is. And I want to acknowledge you for that because I was once like that. And some personal things happened in my life that kind of deviated me off that course. And there's a time to be that and a time to not be that, depending on what one's career is. Well, the media matters. But I would like to acknowledge you for that. And they ended up doing like 40 billion and
it's awesome.
Coincidentally in wholesale. But you remind me of him, of that sentiment. You are that. I won't speak for Tom, but that's who you are, Kev. Like
Well,
you change environments when you participate.
yeah, I want everyone to be happy that no matter who you are, and it's so funny to share that. I'm going to share a real quick story and how much we are alike. So I do take it as a compliment. I work at a company where there was over 4,000 employees. I would fly out to the West Coast, go in the office all the time. And if I was going the second week of every month, and I always say hi to the security guard, stop and talk to them, ask how they're doing, blah, 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 have the conversation. One of my last trips out there, they said, do you realize that only two people in this organization and the executive level that stop and speak to us like we're people? And I don't care if it's the janitor that walks around, I knew their names, I would say hi to them. He's like, it's me and another gentleman Ray Brousseau, who has kind of been like a mentor over the years. He's actually his son Phil, and we were the only two people out of a company of 4,000 people, and probably over 50, 60 executives that would actually stop and talk to them. And I don't think people realize how important it is. It's you're at the wherever you want to look at your org chart. If you want to look at it the upside down pyramid, the pyramid, you look at it whatever way you want. You're in the basement, the top. I don't care where you are. Every person deserves to get the best of you. If not, don't go. And I say it all the time. And actually, last week I got corrected.
Every person deserves to get the best of you. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I don't get it. And when I say, and I got corrected last week, and I appreciate that Charles Clark corrected me. I said, I don't get out of bed unless I'm 100%. And I don't show up. He said, Kev, come on, you can't be 100% every day. I mean, you'd be the most special person in the world, right? He was the sixth fastest man in the world, and he wasn't 100% every day. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, the difference is he said, I'm not saying that you couldn't, but I think there's a better way to say it. No matter what percentage you are, when you get out of bed in the morning, you show up and you give it all you have. So if it's only 70% that day, you give every ounce of that 70% and you leave it there. And that's what will separate you from the average person. So as I used to say 100%, he was right. I don't do it 100%, but as I told you before, I missed one day of work this year, and it was because I didn't feel myself. And I knew that I could be worse for the culture, worse for the performance of that company for that day if I showed up in the mood I was in the way I was feeling. It wasn't that I was sick. I was having a bad day. I was in a foul mood. And I said, no one deserves to get this piece of Kevin DeLory. So one day over 2 years, I'll take that every day. But what kind of damage could I have done that one day? I could have damaged a relationship that I've had for 2 years and put myself back to month 2 of that relationship. So it's better not to show up. It's like, why bring the negativity? If you're not going to bring it all, don't show up, because you're only hurting your company if you're a leader.
How do we separate what's negative from what's true?
Yeah. So listen, there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of bad news. I just think I think if you're in that type of mood where everything's annoying you, right? Like everything's just, and you're just a negative guy that day, it's not worth it, because you're going to just find the worst in everything. You're in a mindset where you're going to find the worst in everything. I don't even care if it's, oh, good morning, Kevin. Well, see the tone that she just said good morning to me, and what's wrong with her, right? So I don't do well with that. I wouldn't want to do that to that person. I respect them too much. So everyone needs their time away. I think it's sometimes people, they don't get that, and they show up with that negative attitude, and they just did so much damage to their own culture, to their company, to the momentum, whatever they were working on, whatever direction they were going in. You just tanked it. You self-sabotaged your,
How do people pull themselves out of that if they don't know they're in it? If they think they're doing great?
Yeah. So
how do you reconcile that?
Yeah, lucky for me, knock on wood, it was a day in 2 years. But something for me, you gotta sometimes, and I suck at this, and it's something I need to get better, is go back from where you started and how far you've come. Go back to the challenges that you overcame. Those are things you need to look at when you think things about that day. If I ever stopped and slowed down that one day and said, why am I being such a foul mood today? I got so much to be happy about. Look at all I've accomplished. Sometimes you don't recognize that. I think we as people, we say, take notes. I love putting stickies on my computer when someone says these amazing things to me, because they keep me going. Because sometimes decisions aren't easy. When I came here, I replaced somebody that's still with the organization. I had to demote that person, and I had to work with that person every day. And I was really worried about that. There was a point where I'm like, was this the right move to still keep the person within the organization? Will they sabotage? Will they do this? And I just received, someone shared something with that they said to them. And actually this person called me on Friday and had a similar conversation with me. about, wow, how lucky am I to be led by Kevin? Now, this person had my job. How lucky am I? How far we've come. He deals with so much to make me better. And you know something? Those are the things that you need to remind yourself. I would be keeping, maybe this is just something I just thought to myself in my notes from now on. I'm going to keep a page of that, of those days. So when I'm having that day, I'm going to go back and read all of
Mm.
those wins because those are the type of wins that beat the record month ever, right? I mean, this month, last month was the best month we've ever had at EPM. This month could have beat it, but I stopped it probably about last Tuesday. I had a conversation, 2 Tuesdays ago, had a conversation, and I said, I want to be clear with all of you. Numbers don't come first to me. Numbers don't define me. What defines me is what we created here.
Mm.
My name's attached to it. And I think that the wheels are starting to come off where actually we're not being good teammates to each other. We're, passing the buck. We're not giving the next person our best. We're throwing problems over the fence and running away. I can't have that because the culture, the teamwork is what got us to the best month ever. And I won't go backwards. The numbers could suffer for a month. That's okay. Because guess what? If I keep the team together and I keep that positive attitude and I keep that culture moving, what's going to happen? And guess what? This month right now, coming up in May, we're projected to have the best month ever in EPM. So last month wasn't the best month. The month before was. So we had a dip. Who cares? Now, do I care for the bottom line? Of course I do. But was I willing to let one suffer so the other can win? Because if I let the numbers win and didn't take care of the people, what's going to happen to the people? I just poisoned my own culture. It's only going to get worse and worse, and it's going to take me forever to get the numbers back. But if I just take this one time where I said to them all, I don't care about the numbers. I had, to your point, how do you embrace conflict with 140 people? How do you have those tough conversations? I did it. I wrote it all down. I was very calm. After the call, I probably got 13 emails of, oh my God, you're so right. I can't believe it. Thank you so much for reminding us what God is where we are. So those are the things, right? But I am going to start keeping a place in my notes of that day. That's a day I should remind myself of what it's all about. The other conversation, just because those days will always come and they will beat any of the shitty days any day of the week. I will take one of those days over a week of nonsense. And those are the things that, as a leader, those are the things that should stand out.
Were you scared to have the conversation
At
one point?
with the as far as demoting that person,
No, the
100%.
140 people, whatever that, the
No,
addressing of
never once.
the
I would not.
addressing of the troops.
No, they went against. If you
No.
go against the core values, they represent. I am the leader of those people. If I let that go sideways, that's on me. I have to own that 100%. If I want to put numbers first, I left an environment where it was profits over people. And I made a commitment to myself. I would never go back there because if you do the right thing by the people, the profits will come hand over fist. But when you do profits over people, you will struggle to get those profits. Why? Because the people aren't moving with you. If you do the reverse of that and you put the people first and they're good people and they do the right things by you, the profits will come and they'll keep coming. It won't be hard work anymore.
How do you teach what you're saying?
By lead by example of showing everyone that I put the people first and making sure that the leadership team I have around me does the same. I've had to have some tough conversations with leaders that are very, very close to me of, I don't think you're doing the right thing by the people. And I need you to turn around immediately. Because if not, you may be very close to me. You may be with me for the Jets. We have to part ways because I have a job to do. And that is for EPM first.
How do you reconcile at what point do action, in your mind, at what point do actions speak louder than words when it comes to how do I say it? A leader's done everything they can to get someone to a certain point through words, through dialogue, but how do you reconcile actions speak louder than words? Like, let's see an example, like there's someone, a part of your team that you love and care about, and they're just not getting it done. So you have to how do you handle it? What's your next 5 moves there?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough one because you want to do the right thing. in both senses. Both senses. That is, as a this person you become close to and the company. It's to have the tough conversation and be brutally honest, and that's not always easy because it can turn into an argument. And um, but again, if you have your notes in front of you and you've been taking
Mm.
notes, and then you could give them detail. If they want, usually it's not 5 steps, it's usually probably one or two. And if they want the right things, you might have to repeat that process. Let me take that back. It's probably two things, but then you repeat that process a few times because the minute if it's not sinking in and you're not following up to say, hey, you're still not where I need to be. You got to get there. Hey, you're getting better, but I need this. Hey, you're doing this, but now, okay, you're almost there. Now, if you're willing to commit to that and do those, that the 2 steps 5 times of the tough conversation and showing them by action, sometimes, well, here's where it gets dicey. Sometimes people quit too soon on someone else, right?
On someone else.
Yeah. So they say, I believe in them, but I'm only going to give them this time, and they don't give them enough time. My theory is I'm gonna even have to sometimes I may have to show you up. And not in a bad way. It may mean that I ask you to do something, you didn't do it soon enough, so I do it myself. Now now it's real to them. Oh man, he's doing it now. And then now the wheels are turning. I don't give up on him, but I'm also not gonna. I won't allow the team to suffer. So I'll jump in and do it. And then sooner you'll see it kick in a lot sooner than just using the words and then leaving them out there to fail. Nobody sets out to fail. If you're a leader and you think that Bob's not doing a good job, unless Bob's a real heel, that's not his intention. Have the conversation with Bob, show him how to do it. Don't just say it to him and don't just pass him off to the next person. You do it. Show him that you care. Because at the end of the day, Bob knows he has someone in his corner now. He's either going to show up or he's going to show out. He's going to leave. So that is the difference. I think a lot of times we used to say, this is the way it should be done. This is what you should do.
How important is it to listen? How hard is it to listen to your people when they're already looking at you for the answers?
Yeah. So that's a good one. That's tough. I mean, it's, I'd love to say that I have some magical thing. It's usually me just doing it and showing them and giving them the answer and showing them how I got to the answer. Because everything happens so fast. I want to get them there. I'd love to do the just probe them and get them to get there. Uh, that's not my style. I'm more of, look, here's what it is. Here's how to get there. Do you understand how I figured this out? And by the way, the next time this comes up, come to me first and I'll walk you through it again. I don't want to it's not just let me show you the way, then leave you on your own. No different than teaching, my daughter how to hit she's 6, teach her how to hit a baseball. If I just do it once and walk away and then just throw the ball out, I'm probably gonna hit her in the head. She's gonna miss it every time. No, it's getting up there, showing her how to do it, holding her hands, standing behind her, swinging the bat with her, and teaching her the way. Now, when I go back and I throw her the ball, she has the concept. Now it's the skill that she needs to practice and get there. So I think it's showing them, not just telling them, show them, be engaged, be involved. When you invest in people like that, they're going to either come out the other side stronger and better, or you're going to end up parting ways with them. So what's an extra, month of helping them and showing them all the things they should be? So I think that's the key. Don't give up so soon. I think actions speak louder than words. Show them how to do it. That's what it is for me.
What's been your biggest lesson in 2023?
Wow, that's a good one. Not everyone's going to be like you. Not everyone's going to think like you. Not everyone's going to give the same effort as you. There are people that will, there will be some Budinsky's out there. There will be some backseat drivers. You got to learn to deal with these different personalities. That has been doing this paper. I just did a little, couple paragraphs and some definitions. It's probably been my biggest lessons to not let the Budinsky's, the backseat driver, the blind man, the Johnny come lately, let these people affect me, no matter what level they are at. It's up to the decision makers to figure that out and to do what I just said, either show them the right way and give them some time to do that, or to say, this isn't for you. But the minute that you let them take too much of your energy, they win. And that's a tough one for me. Um, and that's, I think doing the paper the other day made me realize how silly it all is. How am I letting the Budinsky piss me off? Right? I mean, everyone knows I'm the one that did it. Like they could sit there and it's like it's almost like they steal the ball. You're running, you're at the 99 yard, you ran 99 yards, and they came there, your teammate, and they came along and took the ball out of your hands at the one so they could cross the goal line. Right? Like how silly would that look? Everyone knows who the workhorse was, but it's my thing has been to let those things go. But I also could recognize them more than ever.
When did you first recognize or realize that you were gifted?
I'm not quite sure. Man, I would say maybe it really came to me in high school that I was very good at listening and taking things in and never taking a note, never studying, and still getting by with a B. Right? I was too busy goofing around with my friends and worrying about, you know, who my next girlfriend was going to be. I wasn't, you know, in college, it was kind of more the same. It was great. I remember a professor pulling me aside and said, "Hey, I'm giving you a B, but your real calling should be writing bedtime stories,
Wow.
because the paper had a lot of fact in it, but almost put me to sleep." Now, I never read the book, by the way. That was the best part of it. I skimmed through it. Yeah, but it still got a B. But I was enough. I retained enough. Was it the best that I apply myself? No. In this industry, it was. I probably was the first time someone offered me a $250,000 sign-on bonus, and I was like, "What am I? I'm not a major league baseball player." But they gave me a book of business of $3 million. Actually, at the time, it was worth like zero, but they
Wow.
said this should be enough to get you to three, and I took that book of business to 15.
50.
And 15, just
Oh,
from zero to
15.
50, yeah, in 3 months. So but they only
Sheesh.
wanted,
Oh, in 3 months.
yeah, they only wanted
So
3 million.
that's
Yeah,
2000%.
yep. So it was,
Annualized.
and then
Huge.
I surpassed the person that they were having lead me. But then really, when it kicked in, the leadership aspect was, we were in between leaders, and everyone in the office probably about maybe 220 people were coming to me every day. What should we do? Who should do this? Kevin, can you go talk to them about this? Can you do this? And I'm like, I'm not the leader here. The leader's 2 offices down. Well, he can't get it done like you can. And so that's when I really started to kind of resonate with me that, geez, I might be able to lead some people here. Like this is,
When did it become clear to you that that gift comes with this responsibility to help lesser
yeah,
versus the curse of having to deal?
that
Or
that that's a great question. I think a lot of people, you know, the people that aren't right coming out of the gate and crushing it, people don't, they want to just throw them away, right? And the way I think of it is, if I took the time to interview with them, I took the time to trust in my gut to hire them, it's just as much on me for them to be successful as it is on them. Not to say they don't need to put the work in, but I'm the one that believed in them. So if I'm not willing to put the time and effort in, I love the fact I have 2 guys on the team. One I met, he was the assistant pro at the country club. He's like, "Kevin, I don't make a lot of money as an assistant pro, and the hours are crazy. I'm never home with my fiance." And there were some people that said, "I don't know. I think it's the wrong thing to do." But I trusted my gut. I went with my gut. I took him on, and now he's crushing it. Or I love when people say, from a competitor, "I wouldn't take that guy. He's not that good." Those are the people I usually want, because I want to prove you wrong. Because I want to prove that, was it them? Was it or the company they work for, or the leader they work for? I'll be the judge of that. I don't need you to tell me. When you the all you do by telling me that you shouldn't hire them, you probably just gave them a letter of recommendation in my book. I want to prove people wrong. And I want to show that if you lead the correct way, the guy that you thought was a dud can be a star. And, you got to be committed to that. I get more joy, and this is the truth. I get more joy of watching somebody crush it and, buy their first home, buy their first brand new car, than I do of getting myself a new car. That to me is more exciting, because I was that guy that always wanted, the kid growing up that always wanted what everyone else had, right? Because I was didn't have a lot growing up. So that to me, still to this day, does a lot for me.
Have you helped people up develop upward mobility?
Oh, 100%. I think that's the key is I want to create the next leader. I want to create the next person that wants to, that wants to be me. I want someone that's hot on my heels. It's, this
You
week
want that.
yeah. Oh,
Why?
100%. Yeah. It's
Aren't
just,
you worried that they'll take your job?
no, if they think that if they're taking my job, that means I'm getting promoted if I do the right things, right? And that was Will Badgett told us this week in the whole perspective. He said, if you can't be a good leader if you're not willing to mentor the person that's willing to take your job, because that person that's going to be taking your job, it's either one of two reasons: you weren't doing the job, or don't you want that so you can get promoted? Don't you want to have two of you? That way, the company sees I got an asset, I get two. I either got to promote one of them or promote both of them and do the right thing. So that's usually what happens. So don't be afraid of that. I don't fear that. If I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, I don't fear having another Kevin DeLory out of my heels because I'm going to keep developing. I'm going to keep evolving.
Where do you think that comes from?
I think just growing up with, three older brothers, and they always did that for me. They would give the shirt off their back for me. They would go with less so I could have. I think that's always been in the back of my head that my brothers sacrificed. They worked hard. No one ever knew that I struggled. You wouldn't tell by my appearance because it was them struggling for me. And they wanted the best. They weren't afraid of it sucks because when you get to a good place, you want to share it with more people. But if they did it for the right reasons, like my brothers, they wouldn't take it. So if you do it for the right reasons, you're going to want to see everyone succeed. That's just you. It should be human nature, unless you're unless you're a phony that's chasing a title. I've never been a title chaser because it isn't about title. You could take my title away tomorrow. I don't fear anything. I'll go back to being the best account executive in the industry. It is what it is.
What do you think attracts people to that type of stuff?
I think anyone that knows you're invested in them. The reason I sit, you've been part of my mastermind, you've seen it. Anyone that you sit with, and you could tell that they're having a genuine conversation, they come from a place of caring about you. You want to do the best for them, and you want to make them look good. You want to be around them more. You want to celebrate your wins with them. Hey, today look what I did, and I think that's what keeps it. That's what keeps people around. That's what keeps people chasing. Is they know that I want the best for them.
You think the mastermind would be open to doing this, like
100%?
Culture Matters episode?
I think we had one pretty much on the golf course on Monday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that's what's great because we talk about the most random stuff and give each other ideas and you know when I have deep thought of if I'm on the fence on something, that's usually the group I go to because they're going to steer me in the right direction. Now they don't know anything about my industry, nor do I know anything about theirs, but it's kind of the safe place where three like-minded guys that all have different upbringings, right? All have different stories, but we're all kind of in the same chapter right now, right? So we're all kind of writing this chapter on different levels and different challenges, but I feel like we're all on the same chapter right now, right? It's the first 20 chapters of our books were all different, but the chapter today we're all in the same thing, So yeah, they would definitely there's some characters in there.
How important do you think it is to have a peer group?
I think I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have people around me like that told me the truth. That I could say, hey, look, here's what happened today. And they could say, well, that was an asshole move. Or, hey, man, you need to make tough decisions. Maybe you're just, enabling this person to be not give 100%. So that being authentic. And I think the fact that we don't know anything about each other's business, it doesn't come off. It's not personal. They don't know the person most of the time that we're talking about. I don't know the person they're talking about. But we're able to be honest with each other. But we do see a lot of similarities, especially with younger salespeople. They're all dealing with these younger people.
If there's a level of value in people not being in the same, this is the theory that is making me curious, the same industry, then how do we reconcile that when we're in amongst our own group of peers in the industry we're in, right? Because ultimately there's people we work with. How do we, like in your mind, Kev, how do we bring that level of camaraderie to our business?
Yeah, I think
How
we
do we
did it
do
this
it?
week. I think we did it this week. Or sorry, last week. I think that Empowering Broker series we had in Atlanta, where we brought in some of broker owners, and we had conversation. The conversation within the four walls of EPM was great, but you know where it was better? It was at the Lazy Dog, sitting around a fire pit and having some drinks and getting to know each other, and really opening up to each other, because that's when it changes. It's when you don't see each other as a competitor, when you don't see, oh, if I tell him, I had a really powerful conversation with someone because they told me they didn't know what their vision was, what their story was. And I said, what are you talking about? You just told me three visions. And I wanted to dump, I wanted to dump everything I had into this person because he was vulnerable and he was honest. So he showed me a side that he wasn't there just to, say he was at this event and put it all over social media. He was there for the right reasons. How do I get better? And I couldn't have been any more direct and forward with him than I was that day. I'm working on his playbook for about a week so I could turn it over to him and say, hey, here's how you're going to get better.
So he was vulnerable and honest, and therefore you wanted to share.
100%. I said, this is someone I want to see win.
How does a company do that in an intimate level internally? What are some of your thoughts?
Be real, be honest. Don't worry about positioning. I think a lot of times people worry about positioning, right? How am I going to look if three people had to win these great successes this week? Why would I want to talk about my failure, right? And then they're cheating themselves. Nobody can help you. And I think that is always the fear when you get to a certain level where people want to jockey. They want the next. I'm not in my industry. I'm not in this company for title. It doesn't matter to me. I want to be the best leader I can be. But if you're one of those people that are saying, well, the only way I'm the best leader is if I have CEO in front of my title, if I have COO in front of my title, you're not the best leader. You just got a cool title. Like if that's what you're chasing, but there's probably six people that are more qualified, but they're just not raising their hands and they're not making it all about them.
What do you think are some ways that the company can create vulnerability in it? Or like, how have you created vulnerability in your culture?
I would say that you guys have a lot to do with that. I think, of getting people to open up and be honest and share their story. But own it. Don't. So I think what frustrates me is I see a lot of people out in social media. I see a lot of people, doing this content and they're saying things they think everyone wants to hear. Like my catchphrase is own the day, all these silly things that they do. And they got to come up with these cliches.
Well,
And
I would argue that I don't necessarily know if people say things that I don't necessarily know that thinking is a symptom of speaking. I would argue that speech, we talk about things we've yet to actualize as a form of, it's like you have Brooklyn.
Yeah.
When she was trying to be potty trained.
Yeah.
What does she talk about? I'm going to go, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Big talk.
Something I've observed through the internet. My belief about that just like dropped something. Oh, never mind. We talk about what we've yet to actualize, just like a child talks about peeing and pooping.
Right. Now that's a great. So yeah, I mean that is a lot of it. I think what people need to do is really sit down. You got to let your guard down. It's that simple. Do you know how hard it was for me to share my story? But I think it made me.
The reason I interrupted you, Kevin, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this, is that I think your intellect, I just think that your intellect could lead to a level of cynicism, that you're giving them too much credit based on you're like a psychologist. When you say people are trying to say what they, other people should hear, what they think people should hear, I think you're just giving them too much credit based on your own giftedness. So I want to acknowledge you on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I could, I'll have to do some digging on that one internally. I think you could be on something. I think you are onto something, but
Like
It's I
I'm giving me too much credit if you're going to say that I'm so intentional about everything I'm doing when I talk on. That's why when I do content on social media, I try to talk in the I subject it. Like I try to own my subject because I recognize in myself, the more I talk about you, meaning the audience that I don't interact with, I'm always talking about me. Probably came to this conclusion because of Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil, when he breaks down in like 2 paragraphs the contradiction of Immanuel Kant's thesis that basically like it's everybody's autobiography. All philosophers, it's just their own autobiography drill, just like strung out over the page. I'm saying all this because I respect you at such a high degree. Like I want you to know that I think that my argument on that would be, I don't think the people are thinking. That's why we're talking.
Yeah, I think they're trying to create a narrative that doesn't exist. It's like, I've been really big on this year, and I will continue because to share the story wasn't easy. And but one thing in my book, one thing in my story that I live every day, and that's what we do. We're all living our life story. Is I can't go back and change anything. I can't edit it. I can only go forward, but I have to be able to deliver on what I'm saying. And I think a lot of people, to your point, they want to. I agree with you now because they're saying things like,
I know you're
"That's what
going
I
to think
want
about. I
to do."
can't wait to the next time we talk. We can unpack. You know what I'm saying? Because I know you're going to re-listen to this and think about this.
Well, 100%. I'm thinking about it right now,
Such a
but
learner.
it's already kicking into me that you're 100% right. These people are saying things that they want to happen and they want to see come true, but they may not have the ability. Or tomorrow they may be off the subject totally because of the audience has changed. So now what they want to do is they want to demonstrate what they could do to this new audience. So I think if you want to have that stuff work, you have to strip down and you have to be genuine. But
As
it's
much as
tough.
I do that, I still end up living in some level of contradiction, being a hypocrite at some level. And I get reminded every day when I'm in a wonderful dialogue with my life partner
I tell you what,
about what I did or didn't do, or will or won't. And it just happened earlier with the garage remote, whatever, right before this. And I can't wait to get this out to the world. And I'm like, well, I'm the one that had to deal with it. So we overpaid. It was it. Yeah. I can't wait to laugh about that more later.
But I think what you're very good at is owning who you are and knowing what your values are. And I think that is a good place to start with people and say, I almost would like to start my next meeting with, what are your principles? What are your values? And I like a sentence over each one. I only want 6 sentences of each one of how you lived one of them over the last week.
Wow.
That's if you're genuine, right? I think that because what do people say when they have their values, right? They give you everything you want to hear. Genuine, hardworking. They give you all these things that now when I look at you, I'm like, wow, what a great, genuine, hardworking gentleman he is, right? I can demonstrate, I can give you a sentence of each one of these in the last week because they're not just, they came out of the most honest place I've ever been in my life. When I'm sitting in this $1 million home, the market has just crashed, just lost my brother. I just got divorced. What do I do now? And I had to sit and think, what is it? What is it all about? What do I stand for? And then that's that place where it came from. And that's why I hold mine so in such high regard. And I try to demonstrate them every day with people. And if they can't give you a sentence how they demonstrated them, then they're not your true core values and they're not your principles. Because we live them every day. And that's when you can find out if someone's genuine. There's your test to find out if someone's genuine about their core values.
Do you think you'd be as genuine as you are today had you not lost all of those very important things to you?
No, because I was chasing something. So when you come from a place where, we had a deep conversation yesterday at dinner last night with my in-laws about, politics. And we talked about the welfare system. And I said, can you really speak to it? And they gave me their thoughts. I said, were you raised on it? No. Okay. So let me speak to it because I was raised on it. I experienced it. So let me explain it to you. I'm not in agreement with it, number one, even though it got me, it helped my mother raise 4 boys. there's flaws in it. And I explained to them, but that's me being open and honest of, I get it because I've been through it. And that day that I was sitting there and I had to, in this, I was so busy chasing money, how to get away from that and be better. And now I realize, this is it making the most money make me look better to people? Because that's what I thought, right? Because I gained the stature, I gained this. Is that what makes me the best person I could be? Here I am pouring a Rolex, filling my gas tank, with my thing up to diesel so I could keep my house warm. What is that? Who I want to be? Did this house make me? Does that car in the driveway make me? Nope. It's these three things. Those are the things. If I continue my life and lead with those first, everything else will happen, and it has.
You said something I want to acknowledge. You said you shared with them about you.
Right.
Let's say another scenario where you don't share, like, so they never find out. And because who knows what you went through,
Yep.
you just go right into fight or flight. And now we're in an argument. What if that's the basis of most conversation? Someone went through something others don't understand or know because, well, they don't know yet. That someone is in fight or flight, and now how they talk, they're not sharing the vulnerability.
Right.
So the defense of the counterparty is high.
Yeah. No,
and then all of a sudden, the counterparty now is upset because of how they were interacted with the person that didn't share why they think they have a perspective. You see where I'm going with this? Is like,
yeah, it's not easy, I think. But if you're in a conversation, I think you should always try to be authentic. I think so. I agree with you, right? Like I could have been like, "What are you talking about? You don't understand this," and I could have fought that instead of peeling back the onion and asking those questions of saying, "Hey, I've been through it."
so
Can I
you were
share my story?
vulnerable. You were vulnerable.
100%. And
Now
I think
that would lower the defense of the counterparty, is my argument, and also decrease the likelihood of you getting caught up in your own real life experience of, let's say, who knows what. Correct?
Yeah, 100%. If they, they had stopped and they said, well, now you say it that way. So, by the way, at the end, we were all in agreement of what I said, but I want them to understand. You have to be aware that I lived through it before you say anything offensive that could offend me, because that would
My
be fair to them.
next theoretical question would be, what if the person in your shoes doesn't share? Right? So then who's the responsibility fall on? That's why I am always trying to remind myself to ask and learn, because ultimately what I say that I believe is true based on my observations or whatever, it's inevitable that it's going to lead to someone else being upset, period. And then I'm going to have to burden their upset. So the more upset they are, the more forgiving I'm going to have to be in the moment. Not like, oh, I forgive you. Like empathetic and compassionate. I just thought I wanted to share with you. Like, I think you exemplified a great example of responsibility, openness, vulnerability, of course. But what if you're them in that scenario and the person you're interacting with doesn't demonstrate vulnerability and they just go crazy? Is it their fault? Or like, well, technically it could be if they're calling me names all of a sudden, if you were the in-laws.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I don't know. What are your thoughts? This is completely extraneous thinking here.
This is great. So to answer that, first of all, if I didn't share my story recently and let it all out, I wouldn't have. I would have not made
Really?
that comment last night. Absolutely not. Because I am perceived to be this guy. I am perceived to be this successful.
Wow.
Live in a nice neighborhood, belong to the country club, got a great job. I'm that guy, right? Don't want to mess that image up. with anyone thinking
Yeah,
less.
you're like a good mix of like Wasp and I don't know, like a Mark Wahlberg movie or something. One of
Right,
those
right.
Town or something.
Counties, yeah, yeah, right. So you know what, but you know something, Jay, I
You gotta
honestly
laugh.
believe it's relieving, one, and two, it gives people so much more insight to things they're talking about that they can't relate to, especially when it comes to politics, public assistance, all those things. If you can't relate to it, now, what I would have never gotten to an argument, that's not my style, but I would have probably been resentful. I probably would have held it in and be like,
Mm.
who are these people to judge that the system that got, you know, me and my brothers, raised me and my brothers, is not the right system. No, I agree it's not, and the whole conversation, there needs to be some changes. Um, Still think that, you know, we need to help people to a certain extent.
Yeah.
If I didn't share that, I would have grown resentful and be like, they think less of me, and would have had this whole inner conversation. I probably would have changed my own opinion. And I see that in business too, where people think they can't be who they are because somebody will think less of them. Then that's not a real leader. The minute you become a real leader, the minute you have real culture, the minute that you have a place where it's safe for everyone to be honest, is the minute that every single person's honest. Don't be fake, because people will figure it out sooner or later. And what do they do when they find out you're fake? They get resentful. They don't trust you. They don't respect you. And then it crumbles.
How, what do you think about your past self that would have held that in? Because if that would hold true, then under what your definition is, you would say then your past self was fake. And I would argue, I would bet money that your past self was not fake. What do you thought?
Yeah, I held it in because I didn't want to blow my cover of how hard I worked. To maybe they would think less of me. They wouldn't think I was deserved to be in the room, right? If they knew this about me, and because people, most of the people you're around are they come from very successful parents and all this and that, and here I am. Um, I would challenge is just as good a leader, if not better than most, but didn't feel that in those moments. I
I
felt
think
less.
that's a very honest, vulnerable, and all very logical reasons why not to share personal information.
And that, but you know what I felt? Honestly, I felt like I was cheating people because of all these younger people. I'm cheating them. They're over here thinking it's a struggle because they couldn't get a car when they were 16. They had to wait till they were 17. They were over here struggling. That's a struggle to them, right? And
Wow.
especially in all of these environments where, with the economy, with, you know, everything that's going on in politics, everybody struggles, and it's okay. And it's to say, you know, something. You look at me. You hold. I was so worried that they held me up here
Powerful.
with such a high regard that if I told my childhood, it would put me down at the bottom. I'd have to start all over again.
Well, you're
Now
recognizing that it's the exact opposite because you're
100%.
inspiring the Davids to fight the Goliaths, and that is now meaningful on a level that is indescribable.
100%. I like it. You don't know if you want to get into a competitive fight with Kevin DeLory, then you better be ready because this is nothing compared to where I come from. You know, this is nothing. So
Wow.
I'm ready to. I put it all on the line my entire life to get here,
Mm.
and you know, this is who I am. This is all of these experiences created the person that's so pure, authentic, you know. And still, I still struggle with it. It's not always easy. Like last night, I'm like, should I say something? Do I not say something? And I'm like, screw it. They need to know my story. They're my daughter's grandparents. I got to tell them, hey, listen, I was raised in public assistance. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why it is good and why it's not good, and have an open conversation. But I can come from a place of experience. You only coming from what you see on the news and what you hear and what you read. I lived it. So, you know, I think those things, I think more reading, you know, so the more I read is really opening my mind to so much more and
Wow.
sharing and having deep conversations. You know, I still get embarrassed. Somebody asked to see my watch the other day, and I got so embarrassed, and I like hid it behind my back because, you know, that's not why I do it. That's not, you know, I'm not, I, when I was younger, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted people to see what I had, what I earned, because that was my sign of success. Today, it's, you know, the things I'm accomplishing, the people that respect me. So now when someone looks at some material thing it embarrasses me. Now, back in the day, it didn't. I would have probably had my hand on my chin, would have been
Sure.
doing anything I could so they could see it. And today, and here I am the other day, someone said, actually someone in the mastermind said, "Ooh, watch." And I put it, yep, I just showed it and I put it behind my back. Um, it was because I don't want to ever go back to that person.
Mm.
Not that I would, but it kind of gave me that flashback feeling of it's not about material things.
Kev, what's your final word for our audience here today? If you were put, a theme and really a call to action, what we need to do right now on April 30th of 2023, or in May, a couple weeks when this pops out here.
It's be positive. Stop, every day looking at the negative. The more negative you take in, the more negative you're going to be. It's positive. It's mindset. It's getting up and attacking the day, owning it, finding a group of like-minded friends. If you got a negative Nancy in your circle, you got to boot them out right now. Now's not the time to have a wet blanket involved in your, mastermind. If you got one, they got to go. It's a time to get up. It's time to go after it. A time to look around. As long as there's competitors out there, there's business to be gotten. But don't forget the culture, because everything is secular. When this comes back to a boom, something, who's going to be by your side? Are you going to be out there scrambling to hire like they did, before COVID, and competing for these the B players, the C players? Or are you taking your B players and turning them into A players in this market? Are you elevating people? Are you getting on the front lines? Are you doing what they're asking you to do? Are you looking to get 1% better every day? That's what you need to do right now. Instead of, looking at, the numbers, they say, oh, it's going to be down. The production numbers are going to be down this year. Well, says who? I don't buy in everything I read. I go after it every day. I go after it every day to get what's mine in the market, to make sure my people are in the right mindset and willing, when I say charge, to know that I'm going to jump out of that foxhole with them and be shoulder to shoulder with them, running into the bullets to get to the other side. That's leadership. That's what needs to be done. Positivity, positive leadership starts at the top. If your organization is doom and gloom right now, as a leader, you need to look in the mirror and say, I got to own this. And how do I turn it around? And that's what I would be doing right now. And that's what I do every day. I get up every day. I'm excited. I am honored to be offered this job where I get to lead this group of people. There's 140 people, 140 families that count on Kevin DeLory coming in and being the best version of Kevin DeLory. And if I can't do that, then they need to find a new Kevin DeLory, or you insert the name there. But that's what we need to do. We need to get at it, come at it, and remember that everyone's counting on us. And we're not going to win every day, but if we come in with the right mindset and get them fired up, it's going to change. But the more you keep allowing that, the news, the market data, all of this stuff to dictate your game plan, you're going to lose. The game's over now. You might as well throw the towel in. So it's about getting up and going after it every day.